Hi, this is Coach Colette, host of the Start Within podcast, and welcome to this week's episode of Financial Fridays. Well, November is Native American Heritage Month, and I thought on this day, the day after Thanksgiving, it would be particularly relevant to have a conversation about Native American heritage and history. On many of the Zoom calls that I've participated in recently, particularly those hosted by BIPOC leaders, we have had a moment where people or the hosts have asked us to acknowledge the land on which we are living or the land that we inhabit. Doing this so often this year has led me to a resource called Native Land Digital, which really tries to create and foster conversations about the history of colonialism, indigenous history, settler and indigenous relations, and provide all sorts of educational resources, including a map and territory acknowledgement guide. So it's really been interesting to be able to enter in your location and then from the map know where you are. And land is something that is sacred to all of us, whether or not we recognize it consciously or not. And I will say that before doing this exercise on these Zoom calls, I honestly hadn't thought about it as consciously. And yet, it's the land, it's the earth, it's where we live, it's where we play, it's where we work, it's where we experience our lives. What I love is that we can become more aware of the real lives, the real lived history of Indigenous peoples and nations during this long era of colonialism. One of the things that the site strives to do is to bring back what they call an Indigenous way of knowing when it comes to the importance and the sacredness of land in our lives. Again, we can be so focused on our next task, we are so focused on all of our digital devices that sometimes we really don't take the time to pause and to appreciate the beauty and the wonder of the land around us. So I would encourage you to visit their website, which is native-land.ca. And what you do is you enter in your location in the search bar, and based on that, what comes up. So when I type in Brooklyn, New York, it lets me know that the local nations to verify are Munsee Lenape and Canarsie. And then from that website, you can click on the various nations that come up to learn more about the nation on whose land you inhabit. The Canarsies occupied territory on the western end of Long Island, including much of what is now Brooklyn. Being so near Manhattan Island, it's certain that they had frequent contact with the natives living there as well. From the Native Land site, I then came across a site that is called jeremynative.com. This is a site based on a photography project by Shinnecock artist Jeremy Dennis. And his goal is to preserve and create awareness of the Native American locations on Long Island, New York. And so it's just been exciting to begin my journey of learning more about the Native American nations and tribes that existed on the land in which I am right now. So I encourage you to take some time to learn more about the Native Americans who occupied the territory and the land on which you are right now. That's all from me for now. Get ready and listen up to today's tip from Sukhtej Singh.
Hello everyone, this is Sukhtej Singh, aka Investing of the Investing Podcast, with your weekly Financial Friday tip. And with Thanksgiving upon us, now is the time to be grateful and thankful for everything in our lives. Be grateful for the job you have, for the abundance that surrounds you, and for all the other areas of your life. So now is the time to be grateful and thankful. With that said, that is your weekly Financial Friday tip, and I'll speak to you soon. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Hey, it's Coach Colette with this week's Unplugged segment. Well, last week I said that we would be talking about our Thanksgiving celebrations, so I thought that I would share my story. So V was a letter connected to my Thanksgiving this year, virtual Thanksgiving with my parents that was very lovely, and I felt like there were so many times where I could feel the joy and the love and the connection, even though we weren't in the same room. And once we figured out how they could have the portal device in the dining room and we could sit down to dinner together, it really felt almost like being home for Thanksgiving. Even from the beginning, where we chatted for a little bit, and then we toasted, and then we served plates, and then we ate. It was such a great connection, and I feel like so much of 2020 has been about the silver linings around the cloud of the pandemic and the cloud of lockdowns and the cloud of all of the other racial, political, social issues that we have been dealing with. This virtual Thanksgiving really was a true silver lining, and I am so grateful for that experience. I even took a couple of screenshots of us so that I will always remember that. And then the other V in my Thanksgiving is I pretty much had a vegan Thanksgiving on my end. I tried for the first time and made jackfruit turkey, and it didn't come out so badly, I must admit. It was the first time trying it, and I experimented, and yeah, I think I would do it again. And if you have not ever had jackfruit, basically the texture of it gives you almost like the feel of meat. So it's used a lot in pulled pork because it has that kind of stringy consistency in a way. And so for me, I had it with some sautéed mushrooms, and I tried my hand at making gravy, but yeah, I think that family tradition of grandma, I tried to channel her as much as I could, but it didn't come out nearly as yummy as her gravy normally does. Not to mention the fact that there's no animal fat in it. It was all just the roux and then vegetable stock. So all in all, I am pleased and grateful and thankful for my vegan virtual Thanksgiving celebration. I hope that you had the opportunity to celebrate. I hope that you had the opportunity to gather, even if it was virtual, like my experience. And I also hope you had the opportunity to pause and reflect, as I have been doing as well, to really think about for what and for whom are you most grateful this year? And recognize that that might be different than in previous years. What silver linings have existed during your cloud of 2020? It's really important to allow ourselves that time to reflect and that time to pause and collect these memories of gratitude and appreciation and compassion for ourselves and for one another. Because it's those memories, it's those recollections, it's those pause moments that can really help to sustain you through difficult times. So I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful holiday weekend. Continue to take time for yourself to pause, to reflect, to breathe, maybe experiment with some new recipes, and we will be in touch again soon. Oh, and let me not forget to say, I am thankful for you. Thank you for listening. So what is your takeaway from this week's Financial Fridays segment? What might you do differently around your money and your mindset? For more financial advice, you can check out Sukhi's podcast, Invest Singh, where I also share tips on his Wellness Wednesdays segment. If you enjoyed this episode and haven't already subscribed, you can do so on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Coach_Colette for more inspiration on personal growth and wellness. Tune in next Friday for another episode and get ready to start within to finish strong.